We talked about the last couple of weeks that the Lord had been dealing with us since the beginning of the year about unity and preparing to talk about unity in class. And we're going to be a little bit vulnerable today, I guess, and real. So if anyone is shocked that married couples have arguments, I'm just going to go ahead and just give you a disclaimer that it happens. And I came to church Tuesday, and we were emotionally, we were dealing with grief and a lot of things that were happening because of what happened last week. And told Sister Carr, said, it's kind of ironic that we're teaching Connect about unity right now because we're ready to kill each other. And I don't want to major on that, but what I do think that it was kind of funny because we sat down 2 times this week and we were like, what did we learn? Like, what did we learn this week from what we went through? And what I learned is that I can be so emotionally caught up in what's happening, and I can see things from my perspective so strongly, and I can know that I am right. Yeah. And I can feel like my brain is on fire because how can this other person not know that they're wrong and I'm right? And so I think that that's what we learned this week is like, and that's what we're going to try to convey today is that it's very easy to see my perspective. And here's a person that I love more than anyone else in this world, literally more than anyone else in this world. I want unity with him. And in fact, what most of the time with the argument and all the emotion stems from is all I want is to connect. All I want is to communicate at a deeper level. All I want is to be on the same page. And yet in the middle of that want, I can want that so passionately that it can come across as a demand, as we're going to do it my way and we're going to meet here and this is what's going to happen. But I can't read the other person's mind. I can't know. And so if I can do that with the person who I love and want unity with more than anyone else in the world, how much easier is it for me to do it with my church family or with the person that I meet on the street, and it not even be as fresh on my mind? And so I think the whole point, that the reminder we need is that it's a lot easier to have disunity than what we realize. And it's very easy to think I'm right.
You have to choose to say, I may understand, but they understand as well, and try to see their point of view and look at it from their way that maybe they are doing the best they can. So, saying all that, when you pray for unity, be prepared for opportunities to exercise what God is teaching you. It's the same thing as you ask for patience, God will give you opportunities to learn that. If you ask for souls to reach out to, they aren't just going to come knock on your door and go, hey, I know you go to church. And it's once you have that experience, you can teach it. You understand it, And it always comes back to mind when God delivered the children of Israel out, and I always caught it when they said that He told Moses to go back in, but He hardened Pharaoh's heart. I'm like, well, he's wasting his time here. What's He doing here? He did that to show them, to not just tell them, but to show them that He's going to be there and deliver them. You could talk about it all day long. It's like people that tell you how to raise kids but don't have kids. It's the same thing. Once you've done it, once you've raised kids, people talk beforehand. Hey, boys are easy. There's no problem. No ways. And girls, they lied. I've got one. They're twice as hard. So it's once you have that experience, God helps you to understand it, and you can translate that.
Your mic's not on. Okay. Thank you, because
technology is not on.
Okay. Is it on? Yeah. Now it's working. Thank you.
No.
I'm glad, because we've had to take videos down because the sound won't work.
First Thessalonians. I'll try that again. Awesome. Dear brothers and sisters, honor those who are your leaders in the Lord's work. They work hard among you and give you spiritual guidance. Show them great respect and wholehearted love because of their work, and live peacefully with each other.
I think when we were reading through this week and we were talking about it, I thought it was interesting that it starts out by telling people how to honor their leaders and how to treat their leaders, how to look at their leaders. And then all of a sudden it almost feels abrupt, and live peaceably with each other. Like, what does this have to do with anything? And then we started talking, as business owners, and we have employees now, and this is something that's new for us. And so I can't say that we're actually personally experiencing this, but if we have a vision and we have a job that we're trying to accomplish, but our employees are bickering, and we're constantly, and you're in human resources, you're constantly, no, this is their perspective, no, and you're constantly having to try to teach them to work together, you're not really getting the purpose of the job accomplished because you're too busy with petty squabbles. And so I think what he was trying to say is, hey, learn to have unity, work on it yourself, so that your leader isn't so caught up. It becomes a burden for a leader if he's constantly having, well, they're mad at me, well, this is not working out. As a mature saint of God, we have to learn to live peacefully with each other. Verses 14 through 15 say, brothers and sisters, we urge you to warn those who are lazy, encourage those who are timid, take tender care of those who are weak, be patient with everyone. See that no one pays back evil for evil, but always try to do good to each other and to all people.
16, always be joyful, never stop praying. Be thankful in all circumstances, for this is God's will for those who belong to Christ Jesus. When I read that, we talked yesterday, I was thinking about Brother McLean, and if you knew him, he was one of those guys, it didn't matter day, night, sick, it didn't matter. I knew him personally. He suffered with gout a lot. He would have weeks he couldn't move, and Brother McLean, how you doing? Marvelous. It was always marvelous. And I look in his eyes and say, you're lying. I can see it. Jason, shut your mouth. I feel fine, But I understood, and he understood that it doesn't do any good, that being happy, being joyful, having the right attitude, no matter what, is going to help things. And it shows who Christ is in you.
Verse 19 says, do not stifle the Holy Spirit. Do not scoff at prophecies, but test everything that is said. Hold on to what is good. Stay away from every kind of evil. Test everything that's good. Or test everything that's said. Hold on to what is good. We talk about eat the meat, spit out the bones. Prophecies are still coming from humans. We're still vulnerable to our human frailty. So I think sometimes it's easy, and we talked like the last couple of weeks about, it's really easy to feel spiritual when you notice someone's struggling, but that doesn't really make you spiritual. It just makes you human. Well, it's real easy to go, I don't think that aligns with the word. I'm guilty of it. I hear stuff and my green brain says, nope, that's not biblical. And don't get me wrong, I might be right in that situation, but I can't have this attitude that says, nope, done with that, because that didn't align with what I know. It's about our attitude. It's about our heart. And so we got to hold on to what's good, and we've got to filter that out. But again, we've got to maintain that spirit of unity. Like, how do I honor what's good in this?
Again, by the show of hands, do you remember what color you were? Golds?
Well, green and gold.
Green. Who's green? I always like guessing who it is. Orange and blue.
Got a lot of blue in here.
Okay, who was like me? That was a little bit of everything. Yeah, so yeah.
See, each one of us is not made just of one color, obviously. Like we've talked about that I'm green and gold, and personalities are complicated. They're unpredictable. They're also not stable. They change over time sometimes. But the point of this exercise is to just give everyone a little bit of self-awareness about what they might be primarily and secondarily.
So the question is, why are we doing this? Every time we teach, we always ask this question, why? We're doing this because we want to help as a group and as a church and help with our unity. To explain our unity, I'm a little bit of everything. What does that mean? If you literally saw my chart, it was 12-12, 13-12 or something.
13-13, yeah.
Or it was almost within one digit. And I even asked her, I'm like, hey, did I lie? Did I cheat? Did I do something wrong? And she went through and she's like, it's that, a little bit of everything. And go ahead.
Well, no, you're okay. I wasn't trying to interrupt you. I think what we talked about was that you're always in work mode because he's a business owner. Because of the nature of our business, it's a 24-hour day. And so there's always phone calls. There's always issues that come up. But yesterday, as we sat and we were kind of reviewing all of this, I told him, I said, when I really take a step back and I think about you at home and I think about our relationship, I suspect that you're orange and blue. And he does not like that. But I think it's because sometimes, again, we get this idea that one color's better, or that we know someone who's orange and we don't want to be like them. But we were youth leaders years ago, and there were two leaders that he and someone else both shared the role of youth pastor. And I was actively involved in another class, and so I was not in there all the time. And these two individuals, him and this other individual, had amazing ideas. They had great ideas. And they were always excited, and they could get the kids pumped up. But I noticed that week after week, none of the plans were actually getting fulfilled, or there weren't really any plans. There was none of the things that they were excited about were getting done. And so last night I reminded him of that. I was like, it's not a bad thing, because we need the people who are excited and have the ideas. But there was no, and so the pastor's wife at the church we attended and myself started getting involved a little bit. And not, again, you have to be careful. We weren't going in and being like, well, y'all are doing this wrong. Let us show you how to do it the right way. But we were saying, hey, that's a great idea. Here's what I think we need to do. Here's some ideas so we can bring it to pass. And so I think the point is that we need everything.
Yeah, so I am people focused. Kristin tends to be task oriented.
Everybody's shocked.
Blues need to know that they care, that you care about them. They don't care if you need to clean the house, study, or tend the kids, or go to work, or make a bunch of money. They just want to know that you love them.
As a green, I know that I love him because I married him. That's a fact, okay? Why would I marry someone I don't love? So it's obvious to me that I love him, and I'm proud of him, and I think he's smart. I trust him. Like, all these things to me as a green, they're obvious, right? But because he is bluer than he thinks he is, he needs to hear it.
And again, side note, that's it's the words. What's the not words affirmation? The love language book. If you haven't done it together as a couple, I challenge you to do it. It's a little cheesy sometimes, but it definitely helps you understand. You know, when I take care of things or do things on her to-do list, or do things
when you don't do things.
When I don't take care of things,
that matters.
Yes, on her to-do list, or do things in a timely manner, it can be friction, because she translates this as me not valuing her priorities. She'd rather me be on time for church than worry about being courteous, opening doors, or getting things done for her. Saying all that, like we were like 30 seconds later, and I tried to open the door. What are you doing? Get in the car. Let's go. We're going to be late. I'm like, I'm just trying to open the door. It's just, I want to hold the door. No, get in, you know. And
I don't care if you open the door for me. I want to be on time.
Yes, and that's all that matters. I got it.
So who's right? Who's wrong? Who needs to change? Who's at fault? Who do we blame? Nobody's doing anything wrong. We're all wired differently. But when I know, like when I really stop and acknowledge that he's blue, then I know I have to verbalize those things. I've got to let him know that I trust him, that I love him, that I appreciate him. I have to let him open the door, because honestly, is that going to make a huge difference? I mean, we might be here 20 seconds later, you know, but I have to realize, like, I have to value his needs as well as my own.
I understand that she loves to share knowledge. If she learns something new, she wants to talk about it. It drives me crazy, and I'll pretend to pay attention. But I know that what's what she needs, so I listen to her and I pretend to be interested. Why? Because my partners are green, and she needs to know that she has a good ideas, that I value her help.
I feel like there's a little sarcasm there.
That's the orange.
Like, some people will have conflicts with others in this room or in our church, and it's not because the other person's the devil or that they're evil. It's just that we all have different perspectives, and we have to work. It has to be something in our heart that says, I want to work with you, and I want to meet in the middle. because I want unity. I want to major on what your strengths are. I don't want to nitpick your weaknesses. I want to major on what your strengths are. And the way, and part of that is the point of all of this is so that we can recognize, oh, I think they're, and here's the thing, if you don't get their color right, it's not going to really matter. But an awareness of what the different types are is going to allow you to go, oh, really noticing their weakness right now. Okay, if I'm noticing their weakness, what strengths does that color have? Let me major on those strengths. Let me emphasize that, because we need every color.
There's weaknesses to every color. Now, there's no one color that's greater than the rest.
I feel like that needs to be repeated.
Yes.
There's no one color.
We have sitting presidents that have been gold, greens, oranges, and blues. Successful business owners, CEOs have been every color. I've seen preachers of every color. And I'll be honest, some of the ones like the oranges and blues, they drive me crazy. But I understand it. That's who they are, and that's what goes through it. There's no color greater than the other, and you're not boxed into a stereotype. There are strengths to each color. Then we'll get to choose, but first, let me go over cover the weaknesses.
So we're going to get to the strengths, but we really felt like talking about the weaknesses was important because it's really easy for us to get excited about our strengths, but we really need to work on our weaknesses. Golds have a hard time not being in control.
Amen.
They would rather take control and hurt people's feelings than to let someone who they think is incompetent tell them what to do. They can be good leaders, but they can come off as rough and mean and rude because they're more interested in getting the task done than the people around them. They're not afraid to speak their minds, and they're not afraid to tell you when something's wrong. But even though they may seem like a natural leader, because they're opinionated, the downfall will come when their team says, we're done with this, and leaves them stranded.
Oranges are the life of the party, so much so that they can lose sight of all the goals. Their organization skills are weak, and their plan is nearly non-existent. They like to fly by the seat of their pants. Easy now. Make crucial decisions without all the factors making them hard to follow. They are normally the talkers in the group and will cut people off mid-sentence just to tell a story or say their idea and think nothing about it. I am 100% guilty of that. They don't mind, being cut off, so why should you? They lack structure, and people can view them as incompetent.
Greens are in the background and normally shy. They can make goals and plan, but will get lost in the details, stressing and researching things to death in order to have a precise answer. Greens can make things way more complicated than they need to be. They can be indecisive because of them not knowing or having all the facts. Greens normally have good ideas, but will rarely be bold enough to speak unless someone asks because they fear speaking out of order. And I want to talk about that because I think sometimes greens are shy, but I don't think it's a shyness. I think what happens is greens are very aware that there's a protocol. And if I think it's your turn to speak and you're in charge, even though I might know the right answer and you might be blatantly wrong, if I think it's not my turn to talk, I'm not gonna speak up about it.
Blues go off of what they feel rather than facts. I tell my kids all the time, feelings are not facts. They can be manipulated and used, and they won't say anything, and they keep showing up even when they know they're being used. They love people and believe in people so much so they can refuse to see the bad and refuse to believe that people will not change for the better. Blues have an emotional memory where they can mark down an offense someone said, even a small one. They hold grudges against people who hurt them even a long time ago. They hate confrontation, so they will try not to make amends. They will not try to make amends.
So, with that being said, we're going to now talk about the strengths. We have some weaknesses in our personalities, but we don't want to dwell there. We just want to make sure that we're all recognizing like where we're vulnerable. So we're going to tell those strengths.
Golds, when you're given a task.
I should have said this. One of the things we talked about was when we talk about the weaknesses, we're each going to talk about our own weaknesses. Like we're going to talk about the color that we are. But when it comes time to talk about the strengths, we're going to talk about the other color strengths because, again, the whole point is I need to learn to major in my brother and sister's strengths. I need to learn to recognize their strengths and not be so caught up in their weaknesses.
Goals, when given a task, they don't will see it through. They respect authority. They are law-abiding citizens, and they love direction. They will lead a team well. They recognize that if they recognize their team, they could. I'm going to start over. They will lead a team well if they recognize that they need to care for others and include everyone equally. And they must let go of the idea it's their way or the highway. That ring a bell to anybody? I know me. Goals help the world to move forward. They take great notes, can organize a plan, help drive a team to a finish line. A good goal can motivate and lead in any setting.
Oranges are some of the best people to have in a brainstorming session. They always have ideas. Sometimes they're unrealistic, but they're enthusiastic, fun, and want to have a good time. They don't care if they're in the spotlight, so they make good speakers, entertainers, and they can come up with things on the spot. They're the dreamers and the entrepreneurs of the group.
Greens are the analyzers. I want to shout here. They can take a plan and tell you if it'll work or not, and they'll give you all the details, even if you don't want them, the things you need to know and how to do them. They're great problem solvers, and if you can dream it, they'll find a way to make it happen. They can normally see if things will fail ahead and make adjustments. They observe modes and speak little when they're helpful and loyal people. I will say this, my wife's a green, and I can't tell you, I learned 3 houses ago, the last 2 houses, I'm like, listen, I don't see it. It ain't going to work. But if you say it's going to work, I trust you. Let's go. And absolutely, she was right both times.
And to give some context to that, there was a house that we knew someone that lived in the house. The very first time we ever visited there, he said there was this feeling of, man, I love this. And one day I hope I can afford a home like this. Like, we were young and we didn't have a lot. And probably 8 years go by, and these people come and say, hey, we're going to sell our house. Do you want to buy our house? And now we're in a place where we can't afford this home. And so I could see the look in his eyes, and I knew, like, we're going to live in that house. It's because he's loved it all this time. And I remember I was like, hey, we haven't been there in a while. Can we go take a look? And so we go look, and I'm like, the dynamic of our home now, our kids and everything, this, from where we are now to going to this. But again, I could see the look in his eyes, and I'm like, you know what? We'll make it work. Well, we did make it work, and it was a beautiful home. But it didn't really always function for the flow of our family.
Several years later, I'm like, I should have listened. I made a big, and in the last 2 houses, like, babe, I don't get it. I don't see it. I think it's ugly, but I trust you.
You had an emotional.
Yes, I did.
It's the blue ones.
Yes.
Yeah. It's exactly right. Yeah. All right. So blues are people focused. I think you're out of the camera frame. And great listeners. They are the peacekeepers in the group, and they are the glue that holds everyone together. Absolutely. They care deeply about people. They will do anything to help others, and they will sacrifice their happiness for others' happiness. They're willing to serve, and they want to include everyone. They go out of their way to make people feel connected. And I can't tell you, as someone who has very little blue, how much we need blue.
And if you put together a team, you need all 4 colors. And I will say this, if you ever watch Brother Carr, when he puts people together, he will stop and think about their color. He will not put 2 golds together or 2 oranges together. And you wonder, why do you do? 100%. I've heard him, what color are they? And ask Sister Carr, and so, okay, and that's how he does it. If you have a group of just golds, they will argue over whose idea was the best, and will probably split up and do their own thing in the end. I laugh. Maggie does college sometimes, and she's like, Dad, they don't listen. I try to tell them what to do. We're just going to do our own thing. I'm like, yeah, they're all golds. That's what the problem is. A group of oranges will have a party every meeting and come up with the best ideas ever. They have no structure or money because they use it all to buy pizza for the meeting, and for some reason brought a swimming pool to improve meeting experiences. Greens will get lost in the details. Sean do. No one can make a decision because they need more data, and nothing will be done because they're still researching the best opinion, and they'll schedule another meeting about the meeting to schedule the meeting. Blues will get caught up talking about everyone's personal life and how their kids are doing, their mama's dad, kids, dog, fish, cow, mental health, and nothing about business would get brought up. I read this. We would when I went to TA, Apostolic Temple, they would have a meeting, and it was all blues that ran the whole thing. And I mean, we started at 8. By 1 o'clock, we got nothing accomplished. I'm like, never again. I don't care. Take me off the list. I'll resign. I can't do this. We got nothing accomplished.
So here's the thing, though. When you have one from each group, the gold drives the meeting. Oranges come up with the ideas. Greens get the details all ironed out. And the blues network and tell everyone what's going on. And it creates a great team. But we have to work together, and we've got to make sure we're meeting each other's needs. Like it can't all be about my focus. 1 Thessalonians 5:11 says, therefore encourage one another and build one another up, just as you're doing. We've got to encourage one another. We've got to build each other up. Golds, you see right and wrong pretty quickly, so you can help keep things in line. But do it in love, or if you can't do it in love, go get a blue and say, hey, come help me talk to so-and-so because I feel like they're missing out. Greens, if you see a problem, tell someone and tell them how you think that they can fix it. Now do it in love. Oranges, you guys are a one-man show. You get excited. You've got to remember to include others because secretly everyone likes a little bit of attention. And oranges and gold, or I lost my place, obviously. Oranges and golds are the greeters. They're the ones who aren't afraid of people. Blues and greens would rather be building a spreadsheet in the back than deal with all of the people.
When you're talking about oranges and golds, I was thinking about Brother Terry and Tanya. You know, if you watch them, they're fearless. Anybody walks up, they're hugging them, loving them, talking to them. You know, I'm like, they're perfect for that.
If you stuck me up there. In fact, someone reached out this week and said, hey, for Battle Cry, can you be a greeter? And because I love my church family, I'm like, if you don't have anybody else, then yes, because I don't want the slot to be unfilled. But I'm awkward. And so I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to do it well. Like, even though I may want to do it well, it's not in my nature. And so they said, no, I have other people and I'll get other people.
Hebrews 10:24, and let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works. Let us consider one another, consider that we are different. God designed us differently. That doesn't mean I am wrong or you are wrong. We're just different. We're still bound in love. The greatest commandment is love our God with all our hearts, mind, strength. Second is that you love your neighbors as yourself. We're bound in love. We can work together. I can understand where we are, and you can understand where I am. We meet in the middle. Something great can happen. Romans 12:5, so we, being many, one body in Christ, and everyone remembers one another. One members one another.
One of another, yeah.
We all have different strengths and weaknesses, and God created us that way of purpose because where I am weak, you may be strong. Where I'm lacking, you may not be lacking. Where you are lacking, I may not be lacking. Our differences and our strengths, if you do not recognize them, then we'll fight each other, we'll tear each other down. We'll not be able to get anything accomplished. Unity does not mean all the same, but unity means we work together. You have to learn to choose to see the good in people. It's easy to tear somebody down. It's easy to talk bad about them. It's easy to speak. And, you know, I always go back to who are my heroes? Who do I want to be like? Who do I want to, my kids, you know, and you set that example. And are they mouthing? Are they talking ill of people? Are they always happy? Are they always speaking well? They're always speaking life. Who do you want to be like? I want to be that person. There's been times in our marriage I'm telling her, hey, we can't hang out with them. I mean, it's so negative and so down and so, and it was hard, but I'm like, they're dragging us down, but we want to be around people like that. We want to implement our lives like that. I want our kids to be that way. And there's been times my kids, hey, whoa, change the subject, because the mouths are, no, we're going to speak life, speak joy, speak happiness, speak well of people. Don't talk about it, you know, and even if you don't mean ill of it, don't do that. Pray for them.
And I think that's part of the trap sometimes is, you know, as parents, we want our kids to feel heard. We want them to feel seen. We want them to know that their feelings and emotions are valid. Because, I mean, we can all attest to sometimes in dealing with our church family, it is a family. And sometimes we love you, but we don't like what's going on, or we don't like what we're feeling. And so we want to give them a space to talk about it, but we can see where it takes a turning point. And it's no longer about sharing my frustration. It's about tearing that other person down. And we'll have to say, hey guys, we got to bring it back in, because yes, you may not see eye to eye, but we've got to love each other. We've got to support each other. We've got to encourage each other. And we've got to remember, and we're getting close, and we were supposed to say something at the beginning, we forgot. Sister Kayla is going to talk for a few minutes, and we actually have to go to the next steps. But we've got to remember, I'm taking an accounting class, and one of the things that I had learned, or that they talk about, is ethics in business, and that ethics matter. But there was a hearing, or some kind of judicial meeting where they're deciding on laws surrounding ethics in business, and I think probably the Greens in the room said, hey, we've got to make sure that we're getting to the business of business. If we get so caught up in ethics, maybe the business doesn't get taken care of. And it was talking about that we have to balance ethics with actual, like, what's best for the stockholder, or what's best for financially. Well, the same thing goes for the church. We have to remember that there's a business here, that the business is saving souls. The business is whatever God's purpose is today. And if I get caught up again with disunity, I'm not getting the business done. I'm not getting the things done that God's wanting to do. And I don't want to miss the purpose because I get caught up in little petty things. And so I want to see His will done. I want to see His purpose accomplished. And so I think part of that is it. And going back to the scripture, he talked about, I think it was last week, take care of yourself. Take care of your own business. If I'm really connected, in relationship with the Lord, and I'm really getting affirmation from Him that this is what you're supposed to be doing, this is the path you're supposed to be walking, and I get really caught up in that, a lot of times I'm going to not notice all the little petty things. And also, if I'm getting gratification from that, then I'm going to be really excited for my brother or sister when I see them aligning with their purpose.
And again, it's not a bad thing, because yesterday at the funeral, it was horrible. But I watched so many people that I know that are better than that. And I'm sitting down, this older couple comes in, there's no seats. And they never even look there. They're so focused on their phones or their kids or whatever else. And finally, I saw a couple, and I grabbed him. He's like, what? I said, you're going to sit down. I'm going to stand up. No. I said, yes, sir. He said, I just can't do it. Because I stop, and the lady cried. She said, thank you so much. She's in her 70s. And she said, I promise you I can stand it. And not that I'm better or worse, but you stop and you say, it's not about me. I'm good. I prayed that morning. I'm going to take care of her. And when you do that, you take care of somebody else, God will bless you.
Right.
And God will give you blessings, and God will give you things. And understanding that God will give you that ability. Last thing I want to say, I've learned, we've married, 22 years?
Yes. I'm
horrible with that. You learn when we talk about differences, where I lack, where she lacks. And it's the same thing as friends. God will do that to you. If you allow it, you'll get connections with people. You don't even see the connections, and God will make that. Because there's things that I lack in tremendously that she excels in. For example, when God was passing out the navigation abilities, He skipped me by. If it wasn't for Apple iPhone, I'd get lost in my yard. This one here can go somewhere 20 years ago. We go right, left. Here I'm like, and normally 99% of the time she's got it. She trusts. But there's things she lacks in that I've got. In our business, I can look at a deal, and she's like, it was 3 weeks ago. How do you know? Babe, just give it to me. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da. She's like, you're so weird.
Dealing with customers.
How do you remember that? But that's how my brain works. And that's a strength of mine. And it's not that I'm better or worse, just different. We complement each other.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. God will do that with unity, with friends, with family, with coworkers, and allow you to make the connection. And that's how you win souls, when you make that connection. You allow them, and you allow God to use you to be a blessing to their home and their family.
All right.